What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Let's Build the U.S.S. Voyager Season 1, Episode 35. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we're going to be picking up right where we left off in Episode 34. We are going to be continuing to work on our pylons, and then we're also going to start the wireframe for our nacelles or the engines, however you want to refer to them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So what we're going to be doing right now, going over this gray line, this is supposed to be the bracket where the engines arch up where the ship goes into warp. Now, I will say that eventually we're going to end up coming back and moving this over by a couple of rows, because when I was looking at my reference material, I realized that I built these just a little bit too far out. But what I'm trying to do right now is just trying to emphasize a little bit more that this is a joint, more or less, that bends. We have to work within the framework that we have within Minecraft, so obviously the ship will not bend at this point. Now, if I was building this in Starship Evo, I could have made the engines arch upwards, but it is what it is. But I still, attention to detail. Even though it can't do it, we want to give the impression that it can. So this is why I say, again, going back to your reference material, so basically what you want to be doing right now is looking at this area on the pylons and seeing if it matches up with your reference material. If it doesn't, what can we do to fix it? First, what's the problem? What's specifically not matching up? And then you think about, okay, what can we try to start doing to make this look a little bit better? So we're not looking too bad right now. We're going to get rid of our blue builder lines. And then we're going to, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be making a slight adjustment to the outline for the tail end of the pylon, because it's just a little bit too far back. But it's not looking bad. It just needs a little bit of work. So you can see we're going to start with our bracket. And I actually messed up in that bottom row because we want to maintain that cut line. That looks easy enough, so now we're just going to literally go through the same steps again, but now on the left side. And it's not looking too bad. I just, that backside is just, it's a little bit too thick. Basically what I'm trying to determine right now is what I need to do. So I'm editing to where the back end and the sides blend in together. And I'm basically determining that maybe I need to bring it in just a little bit more. So I'm continuing on. So I did a pattern of 3 on the right side and the left side. So now what we're going to do is we're more or less going to be recutting the back end of the wings now, because that'll shave off a few rows from the wings if we go off that template. Now what I'm also trying to do is match my cut lines that are already there. So I'm going 1-4 with the cut, and I'm going over by 2 because that's where the cut line is. And then after that I'm going to be doing a row of 3 with the cut, because again, it's following the cut line. And before we get too far into it, if we do one thing on one side, we're going to do it on the other. If you want to continue on and just do it on one side, feel free. I'm just doing it this way to make sure that I stay on point. I think that really is going to help it a lot more. It's not going to look so it's not going to look so fat in the back end with shaving off just that little bit. So we go over by 3, and let's continue on. Alright, so now we have our new outline. Everything behind this, we're going to get rid of it. So everything going back. Follow your cut line. So you should have something that looks just like that, and then that piece that's hanging off, you're going to delete all that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the right side. Follow your cut line. Oh, need to delete the bottom off there. There we go. If you get stuck, we're just following the template that we had originally. So as long as you're doing that, again, you can't make a mistake. If you do, go back, check your work. So we got a little bit of access there. So everything behind that we just cut out, we can get rid of it. So I'm going to skip ahead to where we've already cleaned that up. I'm not going to repeat the process again of closing all that in. We've already done that. All you're doing is just deleting the access, but redeveloping the outline that we previously had. Once you've done that, then we can move on. We can start working on our template for our engines. And all we're doing is just filling in the outline. Pretty basic stuff. And now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Now what I need to do, I either need to add a row to the bottom or take a row away from the top so that it completely matches up. unless I want the top to be one taller than the bottom. Alright, looking pretty good. We're going to continue on with our template. Doesn't seem like it, but we are slowly rocking and rolling here. We're getting some work done on Voyager. She's slowly but surely starting to take shape. Still have a ton of work to do. But we should start picking up just a little bit more from here on out at this point, because we're really just now getting to a point where we can just start saying that some of the areas of the ship are getting completed to the point that we can start to detail it. But there's still some minor adjustments that we have to make before we fully get there. Alright. I still think that top row that I have for the starting point of the outline needs to be adjusted, and we need to take off the top row. But let's see what we actually end up doing here. Now this is kind of getting into important what we're doing here. So I'm adding rows to the back end here, because what I'm doing, I'm looking at my reference material and I'm trying to anticipate what ultimately we're going to have to do for the length of the engines. So I'm trying to get a clear indicator of where my starting point for the engines is going to be. And having like an idea of where they're going to start to blend. That's the best way I can describe it, because I'm trying to make them long enough in the back to where I can start transitioning them inward to close them in, and then also to the but bringing them to the point to where it matches up with the reference material, because we don't want to make the engines too big. This is the thing on Voyager. Voyager does not have very big engines. So I knew I wasn't crazy that I was going to take off that top row. I just didn't remember I was going to bring it in one with the cut. So now the top and bottom will finally match up, because that is important. You want these things to match up. Otherwise, it will kind of stick out a little bit if we left it the way it was before. So I have to do the same thing on this side. We're going to go one over. The bottom's good. We just have to go one down and in with a cut. And then the top row, we got to delete this very top one and then bring it over by one. Alright. We're getting somewhere. It's not looking too bad though. Like, I don't know. There are some areas, like even when everything's said and done, there's some areas that I feel like I still could have improved on with Voyager, but it ended up being a good and bad thing because after my version, and I say my version of Voyager, was completed, I think she ended up actually looking a little bit more streamlined than how Voyager actually looks. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it. I'm not. It doesn't look bad. It's not perfect either, but that's just, it kind of is what it is. That's why, like I say, when you build a ship for the first time, it may not always come out the way that you want it to. That's just the reality of it. But all things considered, a first attempt at Voyager. If you want to see what that looks like, again, go back, watch the tour episode. That's the finished version of this ship. It's not perfect, but I don't think it's bad by any means. I've seen builds that are a lot worse. But again, like I said, it's not perfect. I think the majority of where that falls in on is the shape of the neck where it meets the saucer, and then the front top of the saucer itself. Those two areas, like, I didn't completely nail it. But all things considered, I'm very happy with how this build turned out. Because it looked like there for a while that I wasn't even going to be able to get it to come out the way that it ended up coming out. I was actually kind of surprised with how Voyager did turn out. And I've actually gotten a lot of positive feedback. I haven't had a single person comment and be like, your version of Voyager's too streamlined. And like, that's me being my own worst critic, because that's what I would say if I saw the ship. But I haven't had anybody else say that, which has been pretty cool. So, it shows me that people are digging what I've been able to come up with. I think it's close enough to Voyager that, people that are a fan of the ship will appreciate it. Because I think at the end of the day, like, you kind of have to be a fan of Voyager to want to take the time to build out a ship like this. Like, there's no way around it. You kind of have to have that passion to do it. That's why, like, sometimes I'll have people that'll ask me, like, what should I build? And I'll tell them, like, it's hard for me to answer that question for you, because, like, I can't tell you what you're passionate about. This is why I say, like, best thing you can do, try to think of things that you can get passionate about, that you can invest yourself in emotionally, that you want to build, because it's going to be a process to get you through that whole thing from beginning to end. And I feel like you kind of have to love it at that point to want to take all that time to do it, and to do it to the best of your ability, whether it comes out perfect or not, This is why I don't just build starships in Minecraft. I build all sorts of stuff. I just happen to mostly make starships because that seems to be my #1 request. But with that being said, like, anything nerd related I'll do. So if there's something that you do want to see that I haven't done, be sure to drop a comment below, or go on the Discord and go under build suggestions, and you can drop your comment in there for people to upvote. And if I get enough people asking for it, or if it's something that I'm passionate about, you never know, I might end up doing it. But yeah, that's not looking too bad. See, again, we're getting into the beans of our wireframe. We're wireframing out the outline of our engines to get an idea of how this is actually going to look. It's kind of hard to describe, but I'm going to try my best to. You more or less, you kind of have to try to plan ahead and envision what it's going to look like based off the template that you're making. Sometimes it may not work, This is why I take my time and I'll do an outline, because, like, after I do the outline for the engines, like, in real time, like, I'll stop recording and I'll stop and I'll analyze what I've done. And I'll go back, I'll check my reference material to see if this is matching up to where I want it to. Now, the one thing I love at this point, the back end of the pylons, like this is now like we're getting to the point, it's like, okay, to me for the first time in this part of the build, this is starting to look like Voyager. I'm getting excited now. You should be getting excited too, because it's like we've taken all this time, 35 episodes, and we're finally getting up to this point where now she's starting to give us that look that we want, and this is really cool. I'm digging it. But I think that's going to do it for us today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And hey, listen, if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. Drop a comment below. Also, hit the bell. All these things help my channel. So if you want to support it, this is my channel. This is the best way to do it. And again, if you have any build suggestions or any questions, drop a comment below. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up on the channel in the future. You know, we've got Voyager Season 2, where we'll be getting into the interior of Voyager and some last-minute loose ends on the exterior. Enterprise D Season 2, the Excelsior 2 class. Also the Enterprise A 2.0 once we hit 1,000 subscribers. Going back to build suggestions, I need ideas for small builds. So if there's any small builds that you guys can think of that I can do within between like 1 to 4 episodes, drop a comment below so this way I can keep putting out those mini shorter videos while I have the long ones going. Anyway, I think that's going to do it, and I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in, and I hope you have a happy and safe week. And what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section. Post your pictures in Discord.